This was a conspiracy of silence by top officials working to actively conceal the truth, with total disregard for the children who were Sandusky's victims.
Explosive new charges in the Sandusky case involving former Penn State president Graham Spanier. We'll have the latest on this developing story. And cleanup efforts are in full force after Superstorm Sandy ripped through the Northeast. We'll take a closer look at how the storm affected our area. The Center County Report starts right now. Welcome to the Center County Report. I'm Kat Janisco.
And I'm Jeff Lowe. This afternoon, two former Penn State administrators will be in court on new charges in the Jerry Sandusky case. It's part of a new round of allegations that include criminal charges against former university president Graham Spanier. Reporter Adrian DiPiazza has the latest.
Today, former Penn State officials Tim Curley and Gary Schultz head to court to hear more charges related to the alleged cover-up of child sex abuse at Penn State. Graham Spanier, who was president of Penn State for 16 years, had avoided charges since the scandal broke, until yesterday.
This was not a mistake by these men. It was not an oversight. It was not misjudgment on their part. This was a conspiracy of silence by top officials working to actively conceal the truth, with total disregard for the children.
All three men now face counts of conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and endangering the welfare of children, along with counts of failure to report and perjury. For the past year, former President Graham Spanier has been a tenured professor at Penn State. But in light of these recent charges, Penn State has announced that he will be placed on leave effective immediately. Spanier maintains his innocence and claims the charges against him are a result of personal tension between himself and the Pennsylvania governor.
Governor Corbett has made no secret of his personal hostility toward Dr. Spanier, as many witnesses will attest. And he is now manipulating public officials and public resources to settle a personal score.
State Commissioner Frank Noonan says this should be the last time there is a situation like this one.
The reputation of an organization has been put before the welfare of these children. I hope that changes. I hope this is the last time we ever hear about a case like that.
In University Park, I'm Adrian DiPiazza for the Center County Report.
Mike McQueary's attorneys are asking a judge to deny a motion filed by Penn State to delay his whistleblower lawsuit against the university. The motion filed yesterday asked that the lawsuit be allowed to continue on schedule. Penn State wants to put the case on hold while criminal charges are pressed against Curley, Schultz, and now Spanier. The university argued it would be severely prejudiced if the suit was allowed to move forward while criminal proceedings are ongoing.
Jerry Sandusky now has a new prison home after his transfer this week. Officials moved him from the state prison in Camp Hill, where he underwent an evaluation, to a maximum security prison in southwestern Pennsylvania. He'll be in protective custody there. He won't have a cellmate, but has to eat his meals and have counseling and treatment programs in his cell. Sandusky will be allowed to have a TV, radio, have 1 hour of exercise 5 days a week, and 3 showers a week. And he'll have an escort when he's not in his cell.
With the help of noteworthy names like Sugar Ray Leonard and Elizabeth Smart, Penn State hosted a conference on child sex abuse prevention this week. Abuse prevention groups handed out hard-hitting flyers like these to raise awareness about the seriousness of child sex abuse. But even more striking were the accounts of abuse and healing described by the speakers.
The morning after I got home from being kidnapped, I was walking out of my mom's bedroom and she stopped me and she said, "Elizabeth, what this man has done to you is terrible. And there aren't words strong enough to describe how wicked and evil he is. He's taken 9 months of your life away that you'll never get back again. But the best punishment that you could ever give him is to be happy."
I cried for those victims because I knew what they dealt with, what they lived with, what they had to endure. But we can't give up. This thing is more prevalent than people think it is. It happens more often than people think it does. We just can't close the door and feel it's going to go away. It's like this.
The conference drew experts from around the nation.
The suffering and cleanup goes on today after Hurricane Sandy delivered a big blow as she made landfall along the East Coast this week. Millions of homes are still left without power across the eastern seaboard, while New York City, namely Lower Manhattan, saw massive flooding in the streets and the underground subway systems. The hardest hit area was the New Jersey shore, and the storm system has left areas like Atlantic City and Asbury Park in ruins. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie toured the damage with President Obama Wednesday. And here in Pennsylvania, more than 300,000 customers are still without power today. Center County didn't feel the brunt of the storm like New York or New Jersey, but there was still some minor damage and power outages. Reporter Jordan Pruitt traveled the county to inspect the damage.
Across Center County, residents prepared for the worst from Superstorm Sandy, but the worst never came. I traveled around the viewing area Tuesday, and the damage seemed minimal. In Port Matilda, crews were cleaning up a downed tree. Also, a resident was attempting to remove debris from his damaged barn. And power crews were restoring a downed power line along Artery Hollow. In the State College area, there were small areas of standing water along Martin Street and Hauser Street. And the Office of Physical Plant at Penn State began to inspect a sinkhole that opened up along Park and Bigler.
Today, Sandy's remnants have finally left the area. Meteorologist Michael Paige will be up in a bit with your full forecast. For the Center County Report, I'm Jordan Pruitt.
Almost all power is back on in our area today. West Penn Power says only 5 customers are without power in Center County.
The sinkhole on Penn State's campus is causing issues for the university as it tries to find solutions. The 60-foot deep sinkhole is on the corner of Bigler and Park Avenue. That ground was already weak, and with the stormy weather, the ground collapsed, damaging the pipelines that drained water into that area. Crews are digging up the section where the sinkhole is located, and according to an OPP spokesperson, actual repairs will start next week. The area is currently blocked off to the public.
Our meteorologist Michael Paige visited AccuWeather this week to get an inside look at how they track Sandy to Center County.
In this case, I think it was easy for the public to think meteorologists were hyping it up. Did you notice a lot of pushback from the public as you were kind of telling them about the storm, or do you think people were really having the message resonate?
I think any time you start talking, especially well in advance about a major storm, there is that concern about people thinking, well, we've been through storms before, we're not going to worry about it, or they're hyping it up. We try to play a delicate balance, making sure that people are prepared for what's going to happen without going overboard on it. In this case, they could have sounded similar because it was such an extreme event, and we were preparing for such an extreme event, which ultimately ended up happening.
The operations floor seems fairly tranquil now, clearly moving into a post-storm situation, but at the height of the storm, what was this place like?
It was wild. I mean, it was all hands on deck in a storm like this. Everybody do what they can and do their piece to make sure that the public is aware and that we save lives. Our mission ultimately is to save lives and protect property, and I think that AccuWeather in particular and the weather industry as a whole did an excellent job of that on the storm.
Not every day classes are canceled at Penn State. It's actually quite rare. Reporter Marco Ranzi tells us exactly why that happened for the first time in half a decade.
Over the years, Penn State has become notorious for fighting nature's biggest tests.
Whether it's all the snowplows at their disposal or these heated sidewalks, it seems as if class is always in session, no matter what the weather.
But when Hurricane Sandy hit Happy Valley earlier this week, things changed. And while the university does lose money when classes are canceled, Penn State's emergency manager Brian Bittner knew the school's #1 priority.
Money really doesn't play a part into it when we talk about it. The biggest thing is safety, and the safety of the students, our faculty and staff is the biggest thing that drives anything behind it. Are we able to do this in a safe manner? That's always the mainline discussion.
Classes were canceled for the first time since 2007 Monday afternoon, which resulted in mixed reactions from students.
You were out earlier in the day on Monday. Did you feel safe going to class?
Not at all. I felt like I was going to get hit by hail and rain.
I feel like a safety precaution, I think it was the right idea.
I really had no idea why they canceled classes. I feel like it was kind of unnecessary, but getting classes off I'm not going to complain.
But unlike the students, Bittner had a number of tools ready to go.
We followed along with what National Weather was giving us. We had daily briefings with the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, along with the National Weather Service. We were able to make good, informed decisions based off the information we had, and we felt very confident in everything that we decided.
In University Park, I'm Marco Ranzi for the Center County Report.
Brian Bittner's emergency management crew worked almost 36 hours straight throughout Hurricane Sandy.
In the middle of the scare Hurricane Sandy gave people this week, reporter Sophia Perry took a look into the past to find the worst damage done to Center County area by storms.
For a foot of snow, it drifts up to 25 feet. Damaging storms. They're not something you see often in Centre County, but when they do occur, high levels of flooding is a huge problem. Hurricanes Hazel in 1954 and Agnes in 1972 were the worst storms. Charles Holsler, former dean of meteorology at Penn State, was going to a luncheon on commencement morning when Agnes hit.
The president called on me. He said, maybe Charlie House would tell us something about the weather. And I quoted the Old Testament. I said, Noah, get thee an ark, because it looked pretty bad at that time.
Agnes was similar to Sandy in that it was a hurricane turned into an extratropical storm once it hit Pennsylvania. But the Great Appalachian Storm of 1950 did some of the worst damages in the U.S. and Centre County. Western PA recorded 3 feet of snow that Thanksgiving and 6 feet of ice just outside of State College. Telephone and power lines went out from the storm, taking up to 6 months to restore electrical services in Centre County and causing big changes in the U.S.
There was no deductible in those days. And the largest number of insurance claims in the history of the United States were made after that Thanksgiving Day storm in 1950. And so the insurance companies changed all their policies because every television antenna in the northeastern United States blew down.
But while Centre County has seen some dangerous storms, they are quite rare in this area due to its terrain. The air comes from the Allegheny Plateau just west of here and sinks over the valley, suppressing conditions that allow for tornadoes and hurricanes. The only reason Sandy reached our area is because the storm was thousands of miles in diameter. For the Centre County Report, I'm Sophia Perry.
Centre County got about 4 inches of rain from Hurricane Sandy.
Coming up on the Centre County Report, see the latest polling numbers in the presidential and local election races.
And 2 Pennsylvania Democratic candidates stopped by downtown State College this week. Find out what one has to say about the handling of the Sandusky case. That's up next on the Centre County Report. It's only 4 days till Election Day. Democratic candidate for State Attorney General Kathleen Kane made a campaign stop in State College this week. Kane greeted supporters Wednesday at Irving's Cafe on College Avenue, talking about the issues she would address if elected Attorney General.
Public corruption destroys our trust in our government. It takes away our resources, and quite frankly, we don't get our money's worth. I mean, we hire people to do a job, and they should do the jobs.
Kane also said she wants to investigate former Attorney General and current Governor Tom Corbett's handling of the Jerry Sandusky case.
I specialized in the prosecution of child sexual abuse cases. I have never used a grand jury. I think that the inappropriate amount of resources were put onto the case. I think we need to fix the problem if there was one, and we need to find the truth, and then we need to heal and move on.
Kane is running against Republican David Freed in Tuesday's election.
Kathleen Kane wasn't the only Democratic candidate here this week. Senator Bob Casey dubbed his visit to the corner room in State College as Coffee with Bob. He spent the time visiting tables and talking about everything from the expected politics to the weather. He's running against Republican Tom Smith on Tuesday.
Some new election polls are out. In the latest release from the Washington Post ABC, 49% of likely voters chose Democrat Barack Obama, while 48% are with Republican challenger Mitt Romney. In that Pennsylvania Senate race, according to a Franklin and Marshall poll, incumbent Bob Casey leads Tom Smith by a comfortable margin, although 1 in 7 voters remains undecided at the moment. Casey has 48% of voters, while Smith has 39%. On election night, the Centre County Report will have live coverage for you all night long on our local races. We'll bring you live TV updates at the top of every hour and on the half hour here on Com Media HD 98.1 starting at 8 p.m. Plus real-time results on Twitter at Centre County REP and updates on our Facebook page and our website, centercountyreport.com.
The new initiative for the University Park Airport will be to go green with the help of new funding from the Federal Aviation Administration. The airport is the 13th in the country and the first in the state to develop this program. The 18-month plan provides the airport with $217,000 to address sustainability. The plan will help with takeoffs, landings, types of aircraft, and passenger demand. The University Park Airport will work with Penn State in their campus sustainability office on the project.
There's good news today about Penn State cheerleader Paige Rocky, who survived a 5-story fall from an apartment window in State College. She's now out of an intensive care at Tuna Regional Health System and in rehabilitation. A family spokesman who visits Paige every other day says she's been able to move her eyes, extremities, and smile. Rocky broke her pelvis and suffered brain trauma from the 39-foot fall last month. The spokesman says the next steps are continuing to move her arms and legs and waiting for her to speak.
That's good news for Paige. Unfortunately, I don't have much good news to deliver in terms of weather. This weekend will be rather cloudy and certainly chilly for the next several days, running a good 5 to even 10 degrees below normal in some cases. Remember, we are falling back this weekend, Saturday night, pick up an hour's worth of sleep, and then by next week, we're actually already watching another coastal storm, nothing like what we saw with Sandy, but still something that will be moving towards a very vulnerable area of the country right now. 41 degrees is what we have midday here in State College, lots of clouds, but notice the wind chill with a breezy wind out of the west makes it feel like 34 degrees. That's downright wintry in some cases. Today we're only bound for about 45 degrees, 53 the average, so nowhere near that unfortunately. And I think that's the trend for the next couple of days. We don't have too much precipitation to talk about though, just a couple of random spritzes here or there dotting the Commonwealth. That will be true of the rest of today and even tomorrow as well. Lots of clouds, high temperatures generally speaking in the 40s for this afternoon. But all eyes then turn to the coastline for next week. That's when we start looking at this coastal storm that will be developing off the Carolina coastline again. Another dip in the jet stream to sort of tug it northward. Does it take an inside track and bring us some rain midweek, or does it swing out to sea? Right now we'll slice it right down the middle and bring the chance of showers into your forecast by midweek. But notice before then, temperatures stay in the 40s, more sunshine for the first portion of the week, including Election Day. But again, fall back this weekend. Don't forget that. That's all for weather. We'll be back next week.
Coming up next in sports, 2 Penn State teams take the field today vying for Big Ten titles. We'll have the latest. Plus, Nittany Lion football looks to bounce back into the win column in West Lafayette. We have a preview of tomorrow's matchup right after this. With just 4 games remaining in the 2012 football season, the Nittany Lions are heading to West Lafayette, Indiana this weekend to try to regain momentum against the not quite simmering Purdue Boilermakers.
Braxton Miller in the Buckeyes offense. Hyde got level, but Miller kept it. Miller dances. Touchdown. What a play.
Last Saturday's loss to Ohio State was a major setback for the Nittany Lions, dropping them to 5-3 on the season and falling back to second place in the Big Ten Leaders Division. Now Penn State will get set for its 4th road matchup of the season. Head coach Bill O'Brien knows his team needs to put last weekend's game behind them.
We're just concentrating on Purdue, but they understand that they have 4 shots left. Yesterday's practice, the pads were popping, and that was really good to see.
And the Nittany Lions are the #1 pass offense in the Big Ten and have outscored opponents 66-0 in the first quarter of games. But they struggled last week with a season-low 32 yards on the ground on 28 carries, averaging 1.1 yards per rush. McQueary was sacked 4 times. On the opposite side of the ball, defensive coordinator Ted Roof's squad has the best red zone numbers in the conference. Purdue comes into tomorrow's matchup with a 3-5 record overall, having lost all 4 of their conference matchups, including games to Ohio State and in-state rival Notre Dame.
They've played some teams very well this season. They can easily, have a few more wins than they have. So, we know they're a dangerous team, and we have to continue to move forward and focus all our attention to them and be ready to match their intensity on Saturday.
Kickoff at Ross-Ade Stadium tomorrow is set for 3:30 on ESPNU. Well, the high school football season wraps up tonight with 1 more regular season game. State College began preparation this week for Cumberland Valley. The 7-2 Little Lions beat Mifflin County last week, forcing 6 turnovers, including 4 interceptions. Other big games happening across the county. Bald Eagle will visit Legionnaire Valley, and Bellefonte will visit St. Mary's. Known as the Super Bowl of high school football, the annual Big 33 Football Classic recently announced it will renew a rivalry last played in 1992. Pennsylvania will take on the state of Maryland in next June's matchup. Each team has won the event 12 times, and here's a fun fact. There's never been a Super Bowl without a Big 33 alum. Former Nittany Lions who have taken part in the Big 33 game in the past 56 years include Matt Millen, John Capoletti, and Kerry Collins. 2 Big Ten tournaments started this week, and Penn State will fight for the titles in both of them. The Penn State field hockey team is in today's semifinal in Iowa City, Iowa. The 15-3 Nittany Lions were seeded as #1 in the tournament after clinching their 6th Big Ten title last Sunday. The women play at 2:30 against Iowa. If they win, Penn State plays the championship game, also at 2:30. On Wednesday, the number 4 Penn State women's soccer team opened their Big Ten series with a 2-0 win against Iowa in Bloomington, Indiana. They're playing right now against Illinois for a chance in the championship game Sunday at noon. The postseason journey for the men's team doesn't kick off until next Wednesday with the Big Ten tournament in Evanston, Illinois. After taking home 2 straight NCAA national championships and 2 Big Ten titles, the Nittany Lion wrestling squad seems hungrier for more. The team showed off in its inter-squad duel last night in Rec Hall. Penn State's returning 3 NCAA champions, 5 All-Americans, and 6 freshmen. Fourth-year head coach Kel Sanderson says the inter-squad match is a good warm-up for his guys.
They're a little more spirited, the closer you get to competition. So, they want to really. Just saying, I think we'll make a lot of progress between now and Lehigh.
The Nittany Lions only lost 1 match to Minnesota last year, and they'll hit the mat for their first match this year against longtime rival Lehigh November 16th at Rec Hall. And finally to the hardwood, where the men's and women's basketball teams will get set for their first exhibition matches of the season. The Lady Lions will tip off at 2 p.m. in the Bryce Jordan Center against California University of Pennsylvania. The men will follow at 4 p.m. as they take on Philadelphia University. That'll do it for sports. The Center County Report. We'll be right back.
Good news. This Sunday, you'll be able to get an extra hour of sleep. You can thank Daylight Savings for that. That's because Daylight Savings ends this Sunday, November 4th. Don't forget to turn your clocks back an hour and enjoy that extra rest. Of course, that also means it'll start getting dark an hour earlier as we head toward winter. That's all for today's Center County Report. For more news, go to our website, centercountyreport.com.
You can also follow us for breaking news on Twitter at Center County REP and check us out on Facebook as well. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you here on Tuesday night for live coverage of Election Day 2012.